Hi, welcome to the job site. You know, the people that work here tend to think of this place as their home away from home. But they have a healthy respect for the job because they understand that it operates under an entirely different set of rules. Today, we're going to give you some job site insight. You'll learn how to recognize and prevent hazardous situations. By law, employers are required to provide a safe and healthy environment for all workers at the job site and to train you to recognize and avoid hazards. But you also play an important role because it's your responsibility to practice good work habits and avoid unsafe situations. Well, looks like the workday is getting underway. Come on, I'll show you around. From time to time, you may be exposed to chemical hazards on the job. You have a right to know what these hazards are and how to protect yourself and your coworkers. This right to know is contained in an OSHA regulation called Hazard Communication, a program that your employer must implement. It identifies work-related chemical hazards and helps you avoid exposure to them. Your employer has made this hazard communication program accessible to all workers. Know where to find it, so you can refer to it when you need to. Hazard communication also includes warning labels and material safety data sheets. You'll find warning labels on containers and equipment and in work areas. The Material Safety Data Sheet, or MSDS, identifies various chemicals you may encounter, for example, those found in a warehouse or storeroom. The MSDS tells what makes the chemical hazardous, how to work with it, and what steps to take in case of exposure or spills. Your employer has made these sheets accessible for everyone to use, either in a binder or on a computer. Know how to look up this information and always refer to it before you work with an unfamiliar chemical. If you don't understand a label or MSDS, be sure to ask your supervisor. No matter how much safety planning you and your employer do, emergencies can happen at the job site. That's why every employee needs to know what to do in case of fire, severe storms, injuries, chemical releases, and other emergencies. Your company has plans that state what people are supposed to do in case of a fire, hazardous spills, natural disasters, and other emergencies. The plans tell you who to contact and what steps to take. Once an emergency action plan has been implemented, listen to the person in charge. You should also know established evacuation plans ahead of time. How to handle chemical spills and releases is outlined in a regulation called Hazardous Waste Operations and Emergency Response, or HAZWOPER. HAZWOPER requires employers to have plans for emergency response to hazardous substance release. Some job sites have emergency response teams, people who know how to handle spills and releases. Others use outside facilities to respond. If you're the first to discover a spill, don't attempt to clean it up yourself. Instead, follow the procedure you've learned. Contact your supervisor or emergency response team, or activate an alarm. If a spill or release emergency does occur, listen carefully to who's in charge. Know the location of exits and escape routes. Someday it could happen. There could be a fire, and you might be the first one to see it. Will you know what to do? At your job site, there's a firefighting program that's been prepared for all phases of construction and demolition work. Be ready ahead of time for your part of the program by knowing where alarms are and when to use them, and where fire extinguishers are located and how to use them. It's important to remember that fire consumes oxygen as it burns. In fact, more people die from lack of oxygen than they do from burns. So move quickly, but don't panic. If you're caught in a smoke or fire-filled area or building, use a shield to protect yourself as you escape. If possible, hold a wet cloth over your nose and mouth and stay close to the ground. This will minimize the amount of smoke you breathe in. Move away from the area as quickly as possible to your prearranged assembly area, and be sure to check in with the person in charge. Prevention is the best form of fire safety. Take proper precautions when working with electricity, flammable and combustible liquids, LP gas, and heating devices. Use only approved containers and portable tanks for storing and handling fuel. And don't smoke where you're not supposed to. Believe it or not, good housekeeping is essential to good safety. Just leaving things lie around or pile up can be a huge hazard. Obstacles can prevent workers from moving about freely or making a quick exit in case of emergency. Sharp objects that are disposed of improperly can cause injury. Spills that are not cleaned up can cause slips. And those are just a few of the examples of what can go wrong when good housekeeping is not practiced. Areas like these may look like good places to place debris until it can be properly disposed of. Out of sight, out of mind, right? Not if it can cause accidents. Places like work and storage areas, walkways, passageways, and stairways can become easy dumping grounds. Be sure to keep them clear. Gather debris and remove it on a regular basis throughout the day. Don't let it pile up. This is especially important in the case of combustibles. Pick up any object or piece of debris that someone could trip on, even if you're not the one who left it there. Be on the lookout for form and scrap lumber with protruding nails, and make sure to dispose of it properly so no one gets hurt. Glass and other sharp objects, such as sheet metal, must also be properly disposed of. Use trash containers with lids for the collection and separation of all waste materials. Make sure to replace lids after you've disposed of debris. Lids should have a firm fit. Hazardous waste must be disposed of properly in the right containers designed for that specific purpose. Report any unsafe conditions you see to your supervisor so steps can be taken to remove the problem. Remember, a clean and well-maintained job site is a safe job site. It also says a lot about the pride that you take in your work, as well as the health and well-being for everyone that works there. Slips, trips, and falls are the cause of thousands of injuries and dozens of deaths every year. But there are ways to prevent them. All it takes is a little common sense and knowing what preventive measures to take. First, practice good housekeeping. Keep work areas, passageways, walkways, and stairways clear of debris and other obstacles. Second, practice good habits when moving around work areas. Walk carefully on uneven, slippery, or wet surfaces. Make sure your work boots are clean, with nothing slippery on the soles. And use handrails and stair rails wherever you see them. Third, take advantage of the safety devices your employer provides. They're there for your safety, so you should use them. Your employer must provide some method of fall protection when you work at heights. Guardrails with toe boards are methods that protect you from falls. They also protect workers below from falling objects. Guardrails are used on scaffolding and around the perimeter of buildings. Covers must be used over floor openings to prevent falls. In certain situations, fall arrest systems must be used. Fall restraint and fall positioning holds the worker in place. Fall arrest allows the worker to fall only a short distance before breaking the fall. Fall protection systems also include safety nets, positioning devices, warning line systems, controlled access zones, guardrails, and hole covers. For steel erection work, fall protection is required at 15 feet. For scaffolding, fall protection is required at 10 feet. And for all other situations, fall protection is required at 6 feet. Slips, trips, and falls also occur on and around ladders. To prevent slipping, use ladders with skid-resistant features. Make sure there are no loose, broken, corroded, or missing parts. Before climbing, make sure your shoes are clean on the bottom. Even grass and mud can pose a serious hazard. Place the ladder properly. Face the ladder when climbing. Balance your weight carefully. Don't lean or reach out. And you shouldn't carry objects in your hands. You need both of them free to climb safely. Instead, use a tool belt or haul up what you need after you've reached the top. Personal protective equipment, also known as PPE, is the construction worker's best friend. PPE protects you from all kinds of job site hazards, including those that come from processes you perform, the environment, and irritants. There are several types of PPE. Each protects a specific part of your body from harm while you work. Hearing protection protects you from exposure to high levels of noise that can cause temporary or even permanent hearing loss. The most common hearing protection devices are earplugs and earmuffs. A tiny piece of flying debris can cause serious damage to the eye. Eye protection protects you from this and a variety of other hazards, including dust, fumes, gas, liquids, metal flash, and radiation. Eye goggles, safety glasses, face shields, and welding helmets all protect your eyes. Be sure they fit well. Prescription eyeglasses alone are not good eye protection. If they're not prescription safety glasses, you must wear PPE over them. At construction sites, a lot of potential hazards exist for foot injuries. These include compression, puncture, chemicals, and extreme temperatures. To protect your feet, wear safety shoes or boots with steel toes and puncture-proof soles. To help prevent foot discomfort, safety shoes and boots should be cushioned, flexible, water-resistant, and breathable. Head injuries are also common at job sites. Most often they occur as a result of bumps, falling and flying objects, and electrical shock. That's why it's imperative to wear head protection, such as hard hats. Hard hats should be one piece, water and fire resistant. Make sure yours fits right and has no cracks. PPE for hands protects against shock, cuts, burns, amputation, and absorbing chemicals into your skin. Leather, mesh, or canvas gloves are the most common type of PPE used at construction sites. They must fit well. Inspect them regularly for damage and wear. Take care when using gloves with tools and around equipment so your gloves don't get caught. Respirators are another form of PPE. Know what situations call for the use of respirators. They protect against dust and particulates, vapors and gases, oxygen deficiency, and biological agents. And before you use one, you must first receive a medical evaluation, special training, and a fit test for that type of respirator. On-the-job injuries can range from minor to severe, so you need to know what first aid steps to take if you or a coworker is injured. If a worker needs emergency first aid, the first thing you should do is call for help. If 911 is not available, you should know where to find the emergency phone numbers for hospitals, doctors, and ambulances. Know where first aid supplies are located at your job site. The contents are to be kept in a weatherproof container with individual sealed packages for each type of item. Let your employer know when supplies are low. Some job sites have automatic external defibrillators, life-saving devices that can restore normal heart rhythm. Know who is trained to use one and who is trained in CPR. Blood-borne pathogens found in human body fluids can lead to disease and even death. Minimize contact with blood-borne pathogens by following the exposure control plan in place at your job site. Follow universal precautions. Treat all blood and certain body fluids as if they were known to be infectious. Wash your hands often. Use the proper gloves and personal protective equipment. You should also know and recognize the biohazard symbol. Always follow proper procedures for decontamination and disposal of blood and other potentially infectious materials and items that come in contact with them. All construction workers should also know the signs of frostbite, hypothermia, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke, and what to do if they occur. No job site can function without hand and power tools. But no matter how simple or sophisticated, they can all be hazardous if you don't use them properly. First of all, use the right tool. Don't try to get by with a tool that's not made to do a particular job. And don't use a tool if it's damaged. You should inspect and maintain all tools on a regular basis. Beware of loose handles and worn cords or hoses. Let your supervisor or foreman know if tools are in poor condition. Unsafe tools must either be repaired or replaced. All cutting tools must be kept sharp. Dull tools can be more hazardous than sharp ones. Choose the right tool for the job. This includes the right size tool. Secure the work with clamps or a vise, so you have both hands free to operate the tool. Keep good footing and maintain your balance. Avoid wearing loose clothing or jewelry that might get caught in moving parts. And don't forget to use your personal protective equipment. Keep cords and hoses away from heat, oil, and sharp edges. If power tools are designed to have guards, they must be equipped with those guards when you use them. Guards protect you from getting your fingers, hair, or clothing caught in moving parts. They also help protect you and your coworkers from flying chips and sparks. Don't remove a guard just because you think it's in the way. If guards are defective or missing, the equipment must be taken out of service. Always disconnect tools when not in use, before servicing, and when you're changing accessories, such as blades, bits, and cutters. How you handle and store materials may not seem like a safety issue at first, until you think about the other people who have to work near those materials. Anytime materials are stacked in tiers, they have to be secured to prevent sliding, falling, or collapse. Used lumber must have all nails removed before stacking. Heavy equipment requires specialized training, so never operate these machines unless you've been trained to do so. Slings, fastenings, and attachments of handling and rigging equipment must be inspected for damage or defects each day before use. Alloy steel chains must have a permanent identification stating size, grade, rated capacity, and sling manufacturer. On wire rope slings, check the twists or lay of the sling. If 10 randomly distributed wires in one lay are broken, or 5 wires in one strand of a rope lay are damaged, the sling must not be used. You should also check end fittings and other components for any damage that could make the sling unsafe. Synthetic web slings must be immediately taken out of service if they have any of the following: acid or caustic burns, melting or charring, snags, punctures, tears or cuts, broken or worn stitches, distorted fittings. Now, one of the best safeguards for working with electricity is simply understanding how it works. Electricity will always try to get to the ground through anything that will conduct it. Metal is a good conductor because it does not fully resist the flow of electricity. Unfortunately, the human body is also a good conductor. Electrical current that travels to the ground through the body can cause shock, burns, bleeding, even death. To avoid accidents, your first protection is to make sure your electricity is properly grounded. This means creating a safe path for it, away from your body, and containing it within the equipment or tool you're using. Fuses and circuit breakers help protect cords and equipment, while ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, protect people. GFCIs are required on all temporary power at construction job sites. Fuses, circuit breakers, and GFCIs should be checked regularly. Also inspect end terminals, splices, and screws to make sure that they're not broken or loose. Personal protective equipment like hard hats and gloves help to keep you safe too. Always use PPE when working around electricity. When you use extension cords, keep in mind that they really are designed for temporary use only. Only cords that are designed for hard or extra hard service should be used at construction job sites. You'll see these designations marked right on the cord itself. Keep extension cords out of the way of others. Don't use worn or frayed extension cords. As well, don't use cords with missing third prongs or that have been so-called repaired with electrical tape. Electrical tape doesn't really repair a cord. It only covers up a potentially dangerous situation. When using electric power tools, make sure they're either properly grounded or double insulated and work properly. Be sure to use safety features like machine guards, 3-prong plugs, and safety switches. Only qualified employees are authorized to work near overhead power lines. If you're unqualified, you must stay at least 10 feet away from overhead power lines at all times. Before we wrap things up, let's take a look at a few more important safety issues you need to keep in mind. Lockout tagout is the process of using locks and tags to block the flow of energy from a power source so equipment won't accidentally release energy or start up. This protects you and your coworkers from accidental exposure to energized equipment or circuits when equipment is being serviced or maintained. Lockout tagout affects everyone who comes in contact with energy-powered machinery and equipment, although only certain workers are qualified to apply lockout devices and tags. It's also a good idea to tag out a vehicle if it's not working properly. This lets everyone know they should not use that vehicle until it's been repaired. Lockout tagout devices must not be bypassed or ignored. Locks and tags can only be removed by an authorized person. Special safety rules apply whenever people work in trenches. Here are just a few of those rules. For excavations that are 4 feet or more deep, workers need a way to get out quickly. A stairway, ladder, or ramp must be positioned no more than 25 feet away. Excavated material or other materials or equipment must be kept at least 2 feet from the edge of the excavation. If the trench is more than 5 feet deep, employees must also be protected by an adequate cave-in protection system. This can mean installing structural supports, such as a trench box, or using a sloping and benching system. There are various OSHA rules for sloping and benching, depending on the type of soil and size and depth of the excavation. OSHA requires employers to have detailed procedures before an employee can enter a confined space. Confined spaces include tanks, vessels, bins, boilers, ventilation and exhaust ducts, sewers, manholes, tunnels, and pipelines. Other examples include open-top spaces more than 4 feet deep, such as pits and tubs. Because of their limited size, confined spaces are more likely to harbor toxic or flammable contaminants, or not have enough oxygen. Only specially trained, authorized personnel can enter them, and an attendant is always required to stand by outside. If you work near confined spaces, obey the signs that identify these dangerous areas. Well, that's it for our tour of the construction site. I hope you got a good feel for the environment you'll be working in. And I hope you have a good handle on how important safety is at the job site, as well as what to do in case of an emergency. Over the coming weeks and months, as you learn more about your job and your responsibilities, never forget that safety is the most important part of everything you do. So, on behalf of everyone who'll be working with you, welcome to the team.